I just want to know if you see the podium and hear me. You should hear a tone in the back. Yep. What? What do you mean no signal? Okay, so I can kill it.
Not that I've heard. Okay. No, sir. Let's see, chairperson. Did I do that right? Yeah. Okay. sir. All right, yes, sir.
The Greater Leesburg CRA meeting to order. If we can all stand, our prayer be led by Commissioner Erica Jasper.
Father, we come before you. We thank you for this time and this opportunity. We ask for your wisdom. We ask for your guidance as you lead us. We pray, Lord God, for your blessings on this great week. We thank you for every person in this room. We ask that you be blessed and keep everything that comes later in the room today. In your son, Jesus Christ's name.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. Thank you, ma'am. Item 2A is our regular meeting held September 17, 2020. We entertain a motion to approve the minutes at this time.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and properly second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Roll call, Andy.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Burry,
Yes.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Jasper,
Yes.
Commissioner Connor,
Yes.
Chairperson Christian.
Yes. Item 3 is a resolution. Someone like to introduce a resolution, please?
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only.
Resolution of the Carver Heights, Montclair Area Community Development Agency of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the chairman and secretary to execute a corporate warranty deed in favor of Willie Ruth Grimsley to convey a vacant parcel for development of a single-family home in Lake County, Florida, pursuant to the infill housing program and providing an effective date.
Do we have a motion?
I'll second it.
Do we have a motion?
Yes, so moved.
Okay, thank you, sir. Have a motion
Okay.
and a second. Discussion from the commission.
Homes in Partnership is a customer, so I'll need to abstain.
Yes, sir. Any comments from the public? If seeing none, roll call, please, Ms. Andy.
Commissioner Burry,
Yes.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Jasper,
Yes.
Commissioner Connor,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Chairperson Christian.
Yes. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson,
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Burry,
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Connell,
No.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Connor,
Nothing.
Commissioner Jasper.
I just want to say I think it's a great opportunity that we can afford this opportunity for the Grimsley family. So I'm grateful that we can just be a blessing to this family.
Chairperson Christian.
Echo Commissioner Jasper. I think it's great to see new homes being built in Carver Heights. I think it was a vision of the commission early to assist nonprofit developers in providing new homes in Carver Heights, and especially our low-income areas. So I think it's a great move for the city of Leesburg and the CRA. That's all I have for tonight.
Adjourned.
A motion to adjourn. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, that's what.
Yes, sir.
Ken Thomas. Yes, sir. I got caught outside by Justin. That's why I was running in here, man. I said, man, I said. Who, Al got caught? Yeah, he saw me. I said, I gotta go. I got 3 minutes to get in the meeting. I gotta go, man. That's what I said, I gotta go. So I told him, I said, listen, man, I said, the city's gonna say we did everything by our law. The builder, I said, he just hired a guy to build a building for him. If he built it in code, I said, now you just got, I said, I think we've already spent a couple $1,000. I said, I don't even know that we did it from the commission. I said, so now he said, well, I got a guy that do the duct work. I said, well, then you may need to have your guy call the owner and say the owner hired him to go do the duct work to get it. I said, put yourself, if I'm the owner of the company, you say move the duct. If it's a duct like that, okay, I go in there and reroute it on a Saturday or Sunday. I said, if you telling me it's connected to this system, I got to shut everything down for 3 days, then I'm going to tell you, it's going to cost me to tell workers you can't come to work. I got to do it. He said, I said, so now you've been looking at 40,000, so then 4,000, 40,000, it's a big difference. So he said, I got to even talk to my ductwork guy, so I'm going to tell Ken to have your ductwork guy talk to the owner, see if they want to.
Well, Senator, apparently, I've been going out there Saturday and Friday to look and see if he's done anything.
Yeah.
But he told us that he said Senator put up some phone in front of his house.
That ain't gonna work. I said, Lord, say, they got to reroute the duct from my daughter's bedroom under the. I said, you got to understand. I got to own. I got this going on neighbor, so do I pay money to solve this going on neighbor problem? I called you, you ain't called me back. I said, ain't Ken work with you? I said, how you out the last time? I ain't calling you back no more. Oh, he called you? Well, I ain't gonna start. But I told his mom. Well, I told his mom. Yeah. I told his mama that. She said, Justin, I told Justin. So he's trying to come to me. I said, you need to come to me now. You go home. Go home and rest. I said, Ken to call. He said he got his ductwork guy. I said, it's my ductwork guy. I said, well, I have your ductwork guy. Need to talk to them then. What kind of ducts is it? You seen the ductwork they talking about? The fan? Can they do it? Look, he seen the thing in there. Who gonna pay for it? Who gonna pay for it? That's the question. Yeah, that's what I say. That's what I say. I know I wouldn't stop none of it. Whatever. I see.
April 6th is when Fred's got to confirm.
Wow. All right, man. Everybody ready?
Yes, sir.
At this time, and now it's 5:30, we call the Leesburg City Commission meeting to order. We've already had our invocation, our pledge to allegiance in our previous meeting, so we will move directly to public comment. Public comment, this section reserved for members of the public to bring up matters of concern or opportunities for praise. Issues brought up will not be discussed in detail at this meeting. Issues will either be referred to the proper staff or will be scheduled for consideration at a future city commission meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, please. If there are any comments that are pertaining to any items discussed later, please save your comments for the specific item. Do you have any public comments at this time? Since we have no public comment, we'll move into the consent agenda. Tab 5 is routine items are placed on the consent agenda to expedite the meeting. If the commissioner staff wish to discuss any item, the procedure is as follows. Pull the items from the consent agenda, vote on remaining items with one roll call vote, and discuss each item pulled by vote by roll call. Are there any items that the commission would like to discuss tonight?
Got a 5C6 and 5C7.
Any other items? I'd like to discuss B2, please.
C2.
B2.
B2.
Not being all, we'll entertain a motion to approve the remaining items.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Berg. Any discussion? Roll call, Ms. Purvis?
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Burry,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Christian.
Yes. Item B2,
Introduce-
out. Yes, on.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Introduce and ask for read by title only.
Purchase request by Public Works for repairs to the Venetian Gardens Ski Beach Restroom by Johnson Locks Construction for an amount not to exceed $119,942.53.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved on, second. Just want Al to explain the insurance portion of this, please.
Yeah, it's the cost for the reconstruction of the restrooms is $119,900, just a tick south of 120. All that is covered by insurance. So the insurance proceeds will cover the cost.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted that to be on the public record.
Did we ever determine what caused the fire there?
Arson.
Arson.
There's a trash can that's underneath that corner. That trash can was lit on fire. That fire spread up into the soffit porch area and then went back through the roof structure.
And this is we had another incident, I believe, with another bathroom in Venetian, and my question is, I talked to Al on the phone about this. I thought we built this one where nothing, there's nothing there that could burn. I think you mentioned the trusses in the roof.
Yeah,
My question is there a way to build this where basically it can't catch on fire? I mean, can we use metal? Almost.
We had this discussion when we built the restrooms, and part of that discussion was to try to keep the restrooms attractive so that we don't do the modular type of things. And we had that, the kind of the fact-finding mission we went on. And while it was on a metal structure, we did look at concrete structures. And my recommendation to the commission was to go with the more attractive building. I don't know if I'll recommend that to you in the future. I think at the end of the day, cost for cost, we get a nicer facility. The facility represents the community better, but knuckleheads do knucklehead things, and we had to take care of it.
No, it's a nice looking building. I probably only brought it up because this is the second time we've had this incident. And the other one, I thought it was concrete.
Hey, I don't recall that one. Not that it
Nothing very
didn't
far,
happen.
nothing
That
very
was this
far.
one up here.
Yeah, we had that.
What we
The
call
one
a
over here.
hole, right?
Yeah, that one right
Yeah.
there too.
Okay, that's the only comment I had.
And I would just like to, Al probably knows, is install cameras in these locations.
We're working with IT on that as we speak.
Yeah, and I think it'll make everybody feel safer. I like the fact that we're gonna invest this kind of money at Ski Beach, any place in Leesburg that we have attractive facilities that we put our name on, our logo on. I would hate to see a big city of Leesburg logo on a great concrete bathroom. They look like prison bathrooms, and I think we create an image around our city that we have cameras, and people will be prosecuted. I think that will limit some of the vandalism and arson. It'll teach people that if you destroy property, there is a consequence. But right now, we can't have a consequence except go to our insurance company. So I was really strong that we, situations like this, we install cameras in our facilities. Any public comment? Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Roebuck? Commissioner Burry?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Mayor Christian?
Yes. Item 536 is a resolution. Would someone like to introduce it?
Introduced, has to be read by title only.
Thank you.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute a lease agreement between Bases Loaded Consultant Group and the City of Leesburg for office space at the Leesburg Business Incubator for a 3-year term and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moving to proper second discussion.
I was just wondering if we could get a little information on the business that's moving in, kind of what they do and the background. I don't know who, is that, I don't know if Ken still does,
No, actually, the chamber does.
the chamber does.
So, yeah, most of this
Well, then that's a problem, because I asked Sandy, does she know, and she said no. She said, I just found out last week they were
Danielle
coming.
worked on it. Danielle
Okay.
and I worked on it. So I don't have that information for you. I got it from Danielle and just process it with Ken to do the standard lease. If you want, we can put it back and do it next month. I can get you some more detail on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, I can't imagine I wouldn't be okay with it, but I want to know who's going in there before approving a lease. So
Yes.
I guess I'll move to table.
Do a second on the table.
Yeah, I'll second it.
And for me, Al, I think I would like to see the person come to the city to represent themselves if they're going to be leasing our
Okay.
facility, helping in the future. I would just like to hear from the owner and kind of what they're going to be doing.
Yeah, this is the first lease we've done in a while, so
Yes.
we'll get the next one right.
Thank you. Roll call on the table.
Commissioner Burry?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Mayor Christian?
Yes. Item 5C7 is a resolution. Someone like to introduce it, please?
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a quitclaim deed for 931 East Main Street and 933 East Main Street, lying in Section 26, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, to Habitat for Humanity of Lake Sumter, Florida, Inc., and providing an effective date.
Do a motion.
Yes, so moved.
About a second.
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion?
Yeah. So I just need to abstain because Habitat's a customer.
Yes, sir. Any other discussion? Now, do we have any idea what type of house it's going to build? Right on.
Probably
Main?
something typical to what they've been doing. They've kind of been doing those 1,800 square foot, 3-2, with a little bit of a kind of a Florida Craftsman style.
Yeah, it's their cottage series. Is the series of houses that they do. So it'd be pretty similar to the one that's up there
12th
on
Street.
12th Street.
Okay. Al, can you make sure that they're aware that they're moving in between Catrali and the city of Leesburg Public Works? So they don't, the homeowner doesn't come here 7 months from now complaining about the noise. So just please let them know that they are building beside some heavy, and road mic coming down the road. So just make sure they're aware of that. Any other discussion from the public? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Burry?
Yes.
Mayor Christian?
Yes. Item 6A1 is the second reading of an ordinance. Somebody
Introduced and has to be read by title only.
Thank you.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, rezoning approximately 14.09 acres from PUD Plan Unit Development to PUD Plan Unit Development for property generally located east of U.S. Highway 27, north of County Road 48, and south of Commander Road, as legally described in Section 14, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Proper second. Discussion from the commission?
I believe this was the one where we can get some information on the proposed docks and with a limit of how far they get to stick out.
Good evening, Dan Miller, Planning and Zoning Manager. We did add language into the plan unit development reflecting that on page 2 under section 2A6. All docks shall be allowed to extend no further than 12.5 feet into the river from the shoreline, pending approval of FDEP. There was also conversation between Jay Baker of Biotech, who is the environmental expert on this project, and they also agreed with that recommendation, FDEP. So unless you had any further questions on that.
And now, my understanding is FDEP, based on the specifics of the permit application, could decide that it needs to be less.
Absolutely.
Right.
This is just a maximum.
Okay.
And what this does is allows an individual homeowner who has a lot on the water to apply for a permit, but it doesn't guarantee they'll get one. Those permits then would have to go through, depending on, sometimes it goes through FDP, sometimes it goes through St. John's. And I'm not sure what the difference in the criteria is on that. I believe it's if it's under 1,000 square feet, which is what the limit is on residential. So, but it's not a guarantee. It's allows them to go forward with a permit request.
Okay, thank you.
Dan, I wanted to ask you also, I read that there were 5 feet width maximums, is that
There's a-
correct? And what is the 1,000 foot?
There's
that-
yes, sir, Mr. Berry, there's a 5-foot side setback for the docks from the property line, as if the property line
Just a-
projected out into the water,
Okay.
just as if it were an
Right.
accessory structure. Is that what you were asking?
I thought it inferred that there was a width of the dock itself as 5 foot, and there was a maximum of 1,000 square foot.
My understanding is that for a residential dock, it's a maximum of 1,000 square feet before some additional permitting is required. And there may be some more info on that. I don't know if Mr. Connell remembers from his permitting days. But normally, we don't see anything over 1,000 square feet in the office. And in properties of this width, they're not going to be able to get that much out there.
No, we'd be talking about 70 square foot or whatever,
Yeah, I mean, 80 feet would get you to 960, so.
Yeah, but does that include walkway then to get to,
My understanding is that's correct. It includes walkway and everything.
why there would be 1,000, you know? Just curious.
Cornell, I know you
Yes,
brought
sir.
this up last meeting. Anything you want to add to it or see?
I do believe that when it gets into permitting through this estate agency, it's anything over 1,000 square feet. That's square footage, not projection or anything like that. I think the question I had the last meeting was the maximum projection out into the river.
Right.
'Cause I think the
Right.
width of the river at that point is only about 50 foot. And I wanted to make sure we could limit the projection out into the water, so we didn't, because even in the dry season, even you got 50 foot, in the dry season, you gotta trim your motor up and even get right in the middle to get through there.
Right. 12 and a half feet of dock just isn't,
Yes. Absolutely, and,
not-
at 12, and realistically, at 12 foot, I mean, their docks may be out of water sometimes during the
Right.
year, but I do think it's important we do limit the projection. I think the PUD, I spoke with Dan earlier last week, that the PUD was limited to 12 and a half foot, I think it says in the PUD. I don't think it alludes to the fact of the square footage, it was more the projection concern we had, or at least I had.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Any other comments from the commission? From the public, please? Yes, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Mark Provis. I'm a resident of the Hawthorne Retirement Community, a community of some 2,000 people that border on the Palatlakaha River. I am here today to ask you, the members of the commission, to reject the current plan for the Fox Point at River's Edge. to argue and to persuade you that the inclusion of language in the current plan to allow 16 boat docks in the current plan is a bad idea that does not serve the public's interest and that you can vote on today to reject. The Palatka River, on which they propose to allow 16 boat docks, each of which can be up to 1,000 square feet, will, in our opinion, choke this narrow waterway and negatively affect all who enjoy it now and in the future. I have provided the mayor and each of the commissioners with extensive photos that illustrate exactly how narrow this waterway is. Included in that package was a petition asking you to reject the current plan, which was signed by 60-plus people. I both mailed these illustrations and hand-delivered a copy of that informational package to the city manager, who assured me that it was to be delivered to you last week. Given the facts, I think it is obvious to all that allowing up to 16 boat docks at this location is short-sighted, inconsiderate, and will result in extensive and long-term damage to this waterway and to our community. Now I wish to counter the argument that says that you may excuse yourselves from addressing this issue because it may be that the construction of boat docks on the waterway is not within your purview or jurisdiction. I would argue strongly that you are directly responsible for what happens to the environment and well-being of the citizens of Leesburg, and that you can nip this in the bud right now. This is a simple and straightforward matter. You can choose to listen to the concerned citizens in the community that will be negatively impacted and to be influenced by the facts that you have in hand on the reality of this situation. Or you can be persuaded by the developer who stands to make a profit at our expense. Again, it's simple. Allowing 16 boat docks to be constructed on this pristine and sensitive location is to allow 15 many 2 boat docks. Thank you for your time. I'd be happy to expand on anything I've said.
I do have
sir.
one question for you.
Yes, sir.
Because I don't know, is there any private boat docks on the Plaquemine in Hawthorne, or is all just public dock?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Is there any private boat docks where you're at on the river? Does any of
Yeah.
the residents have private docks?
Hawthorne has a marina on the river.
Right, I know they have a marina, but is there any individual private
Yes,
docks?
one was
out?
constructed last year, which was exactly 1,000 square feet. It is an enormous boat dock that is an impediment to navigation right now.
Okay, that was done through the county though, correct? Because
I don't know.
Hawthorne's not in the city.
I don't have any insight
Okay,
as
so
to
there is
how that happened.
there's only one dock, private dock?
No,
off
there's
of
an old
Hawthorne?
private dock.
I mean, I know
This
you
is
have
the
a
current-
big community dock out there, and a big marina. I'm just
Yeah,
asking,
which we
does
had
the
permission to
individuals
dig out
who-
the land for.
The individuals who live on the river, do they have private docks in Hawthorne?
There is one that was constructed last year that is in fact 1,000 square feet. It is an enormous dock that is an impediment to navigation.
Okay, but there's only, as far as you know, there's only one then?
There may-
In your subdivision?
In my subdivision, is there only one dock?
Only one private dock?
There may be 2 or 3. They are older and they are not in this location.
Okay, but they are on the river?
They are on the river.
Okay.
They are older.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
Are there any other public comment? Yes, sir.
Oh, while he's coming up, I would just say that when you look at the lot sizes are 50 foot. So if you take out the setback, even if you started your dock on the shore and went all the way 12 and a half feet, which no one's really going to do, the biggest you could actually build would be 500. In reality, these are probably going to be 200 to 300 square feet docks. So it's impossible to build 1,000 square foot based on the setbacks.
Yes, sir.
Well, you can see from last time I learned I didn't talk up front. I waited to this time, so
Thank you.
I thank you again for the opportunity to do this. Now, this gentleman, you were asking some questions about private docks.
Excuse
Could
me,
you
sir.
repeat that?
Excuse me, sir, can we get your name and address, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Bill Conley, 109 Papaya Cove. I'm currently, for about another month and a half, on the board of directors over at Hawthorne. And
Yes, sir. My question was, in Hawthorne, you do have properties that are on the river. I know y'all have a community marina. My question was, does any residents who live on the Plaquemine in Hawthorne have their own individual private dock out into the river?
no,
Okay, because he said there was 2 or 3.
there are no private ones. They're all part of that dock that belongs to the residents community,
Okay,
the
so-
co-op.
The one he was referring to was just built, was 1,000 square foot. That's not accurate?
No, that's across the river. That's not part of our
Okay,
property.
that's not part of yours.
There are several other docks, if you go out towards the river, that were just allowed and put up within the last year. Those are private docks also, but they have nothing to do with Hawthorne. That's beyond our property line.
Okay, that was my question. I just wondered if you had any private in Hawthorne. Okay.
Okay. I definitely support what he was just saying about removing the language about those boat docks. Now, some of the things you got to really see to go out there is how shallow that is on that shoreline. You're talking 2 or 3 feet in high water where that bank is. When that comes down, for them to put that boat dock out there, it's got to be a big ramp. That boat dock is going to be away from that bank, or they're not going to be able to get down it unless they use ropes and ladders. It's pretty steep. And then if you got to get where you're going to put a big boat, and I didn't get it clarified if the boat's going to be on the outside the dock, is it going to come in from one of the ends? That's still a big question. And I thank you for asking that and bringing it back for information. I think last time you asked for the follow-up information on that.
And I'd like to ask Dan Miller for clarification on that. I mean, he just asked a good question about if the docks can go out 12 and a half feet, can they tie boats up outside the dock?
Could you repeat that?
Okay, so we limited their boat dock to 12 and a half feet into the river. His question is, can they then tie a boat up permanently outside of that?
From the city regulation side, I don't know of anything. From St. John's and FDEP, I'm sure there would be some significant concerns. They could also be written into the covenants and restrictions that boats would have to be tied up on the side of the dock inside.
I'm not
inside
trying
the
to,
dock.
not trying to mandate a bunch of rules. I just
Right.
want to try to keep the residents happy by keeping the river, navigable.
If you
which I
take the
think
width
we're all
of
trying to
the,
do.
if you take the width of the lot at 50 feet, you take away the 5-foot setback on each side, you have 40 feet remaining. If you jut out 12 and a half feet from there, the maximum is 500 square feet. The math is, and 120 square feet is a 10 by 12 bedroom, so.
And I guess I'm just trying to help this gentleman understand. His question to the commission is, are the boats then going to be tied up out there? So are we interfering with the navigation of the river? And I'm just trying to put him at ease.
Yeah, I would not have a clue on that. It would,
I mean, if I had a boat, I wouldn't tie it up out there where boats could
I would
come
not-
down and play bumper cars with me.
right, I wouldn't tie one up out there myself, but I can't predict
Yeah.
anyone
I'm just trying to be
else's behavior.
sensitive to
Sure,
keeping the river
sure.
navigable.
Yeah.
But Dan, while you're there on that question, I mean, who polices the other rivers and lakes in Lake County? I mean, I'm sure it's still Leesburg, we don't have a police
Fish and
patrol.
Wildlife Commission, as far as I know.
So if a boat is tied up on the outside, it'd be Fish and Wildlife responsibility to go and police that boat owner to say your boat shouldn't be out here because it's a dangerous situation. Somebody's riding on the river and your boat is dangling out.
It would be wise for the homeowners association to place some rules on any type of dock, no matter where it is, particularly in a place like this, to where you couldn't overnight your boat. It would just be strictly something that you could tie it up for a visit to the house to pick up the kids or something. I don't know. There's many ways to work a covenants and restrictions document to help ease that concern.
Okay.
But that's just one.
Thank you, sir.
This weekend, we had another tournament, and it wasn't what I call the big boys because they didn't have their decals on it. They're working up to that. They get points for it. I watched 2 boats pass each other, They had 250 or 25 horsepower engines on each boat, and they were going along where one of these boats' dock is supposed to be. These boats passed each other, and they had roughly 3 foot of clearance in the middle. And when they went by each other, they weren't speeding, but they weren't going slow. And when they passed each other, they had wakes going up on both sides of the river, and that other section of waves were going right up that bank. And on our side, they came right up over all the plants and stuff we did. The boats are necessary, I understand that. But when you start putting those boat docks out there, you are going to have quite a traffic jam out there. And they are going to force those boats right on our shoreline. Now, in a very short time, we're going to be preparing our 50th year in Hawthorne and Leesburg, okay, along that riverbank. And we have taken a lot of time, energy, and so forth, trying to protect that, keep it going, and to protect the shoreline, and to watch the critters, the alligators, even the snakes that go through there, okay? So I definitely urge you to look at it. Now, I don't know which gentleman it was when I was here last week, but somebody over there, let me slow down just a little bit. When I was here last time, I offered to anybody from the project, the Fox Point project, if they wanted to come over there and visit Hawthorne to meet their new neighbors, to talk to our board, I would set that up. There was nobody offered to take me up on that. Now, back to what I was going to say, I'm going to make that same offer to somebody that was sitting over there if you're in the same seats, because while we were talking about this last time, somebody from that point said, you know, if with all the boats you got over in Hawthorne, and I'm trying to remember the wording, if you just give up some of those boat slips, you're going to solve the problem. So that told me that there's an issue between somebody on this board and with Hawthorne. So I have my phone number I'm going to leave with you. If somebody wants to call and come over and either talk to me or talk to anybody in Hawthorne, because I do not want an issue, and I'll leave it with you, you can pass it down. I do not need or want an issue, because I just love this community, between us and anybody on this board, because we plan to be here a lot longer. So if there is an issue, please give me a call and I'll try to address what that was. Outside of that, I thank you again for your support. I'm quite impressed how you do run your meetings, and have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is George Wolf. I live in Hawthorne, have been there for 25 years. I served on the board of directors with Hawthorne, was president 1 year. So I just a background information. We went through this Fox Point issue 5, 6, 8, 10 years ago. I don't know how long ago it was, but it's the same plan, especially the part that is disturbing to me and to the people in Hawthorne is this boat dock, 16 boat slips. Yes, Hawthorne has a marina with 120 boat slips. When that was built, special permission was granted by the St. John's Water people to actually dig out. Our marina is not in the river at all. The river goes by, and the boats are all, you know, in the marina that's there. And that's the only access that the people of Hawthorne, we have 1,200 homes, and we've got 120 boat slips. It would be funny if they wanted to put more. I don't think it'll ever happen. But I ask you to take and reject this plan, have it rewritten without the boat slips. I don't think it's a wise move to do this. I'm a former kayaker, but I'm 86 years old now, so I sort of backed off on getting in my kayak and going out there on Lake Harris all by myself. So I don't do that anymore. But I've been up and down this Palatlakaha River up to where the dam is in the kayak, and so I have an idea of what it is. I also know how deep it is. I have actually waded in the water along that pathway, and it's not very deep. It's not very deep anywhere through there. So I just would encourage you to give this serious consideration. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? Close the public comment and ask the commissioners, do you have any comments from the commission before we take a vote?
I mean, I hear the concerns are the river being navigable, and I think we've tried our best by limiting them to 12 and a half feet. I mean, I think you've got the state here, FDEP, St. John's. I mean, just common sense says they're not going to allow the river has to stay navigable. So I think other regulatory agencies are going to get involved, and I'll just close with that.
Yes, sir.
This development also is going to be closer to the dam side than it is to the lake side, so none of these docks are going to impede their marina traffic to the lake. So, at 12 and a half feet length, I think it's fair that a new homeowner should have the right to have a dock.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I'm the one that made the comment about the marina traffic before, and that was really in response to this idea that there's too many boats on the river, which I don't buy, but I'm very familiar with the river. I grew up spending a lot of time on it, and the fact of the matter is, with the restrictions we placed, a 12 and a half foot dock, you can't put a real boat slip in there. I mean, you just can't do it. But if someone wants to have a small dock where you can have chairs, enjoy the river, just like the residents of Hawthorne, enjoy the river, maybe have a kayak or something, I think that's fine. I also think that given the challenges of the embankment and the fact that you can't have a boat slip there, the cost of building those docks is, along with the lot sizes, I would be shocked if you ever saw 16 docks there, because it's going to be cost prohibitive. But if someone wants to do it, I think they should have the right to.
Anything, Ms. Cornell? Okay, roll call, please, Ms. Andy.
Commissioner Connell?
No.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Burry?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Mayor Christian?
Yes. Item 6A2 is also ordinance. Would someone like to introduce it, please?
I'll introduce, it has to be read by title only.
Thank you.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 20.63 plus minus acres from C3 General Commercial and R2 Medium Density Residential to PUD Planned Unit Development to allow for mixed-use development for property generally located west of U.S. Highway 27 and north of County Road 25A, as legally described in Section 34, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Second. Dan, did they provide any additional elevations?
The elevations they are working on right now, they're not with us yet at this point. We did make the other changes to the fence and the landscape. I need to make one note, Mr. Mayor, if I may. I was just now going through the minutes and saw that you had noted that this would be on the February 8th agenda, and I must have accidentally put it on tonight, and I apologize for that, but I just now saw it. And I'm concerned that because the statement's in the record that it's February 8th, could we be able to hold it until then, please?
The date is 8th, right?
I really need to take a break. Okay.
Give him a break, man. Go to the Bahamas.
I'm so sorry.
We got him a new planner and everything.
We have.
Can you get the elevations to us?
We're waiting on some new elevations that they will be bringing to us. They have talked to us. My staff, Carrie Lee on my staff, is working with them to get the new elevations to bring to us. We do not have them in-house right now, but they are aware of them. They have been sent the architectural standards under ordinance 16-35, I believe it is. So they're fully aware of it, and we won't let them, there would be revisions required as a safeguard. We can hold it or we can move it forward, whatever you like, but they have not had time since our last meeting to put any full set of architectural standards together.
All right, I'm trying to be a nice guy, but okay, I'll leave it to the commission and see what they think about.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable going forward without the plans, especially given that it's multifamily, which I know we need, but I think we need to be very careful about the
Understood.
product that we approve.
Understood.
All right, can we get a motion to table this then until they bring back, and it's on 27, so it's on the main road. I think we gotta do this right. Is it okay to table this till we get the elevation, they can bring it back to us?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, a motion on the second,
So,
moving in proper second. Roll call on the table.
Commissioner Roebuck,
yes.
Commissioner Burry,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Mayor Christian.
Yes. Item 6B1 is the first reading. Someone like to introduce it, please?
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 31 plus minus acres from PUD Planned Unit Development to PUD Planned Unit Development to allow for multifamily apartments for property generally located south of East Dixie Avenue and west of South Lake Street, as legally described in Section 25, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
This is first reading. Someone like to discuss it?
All they're doing is adding a story?
Yes, sir. What they would like to do is add a story and then make the minimum home size within the units an average of 800 square feet, and then go from 3 stories to 4 to add a little flexibility and green space. This is an existing PUD that was approved, I want to say 2005-06, something like that. The recession caught it, so now we have someone who is interested in potentially moving forward if the funding all goes through. So
What was the old minimum square footage?
the old minimum was, I want to say it was 1,000. I'd have to go back and look, but I believe it was closer to 1,000.
And if is this one tied to the number of bedrooms, or could you have a 3-bedroom, 800 square foot apartment?
Yeah, whatever you can fit in the 800 square feet, as long as it meets codes, would be fine.
So I don't have a problem with 800 square feet for a 1-bedroom apartment, but I do for anything
Okay.
probably more. So maybe you could get with them on tying the minimum square footage to the amount of bedrooms and having it go up as the bedrooms increase.
We could do that. Would you like to give us any specifics or anything that would make you more comfortable that we can come back with? This is a second reading, I believe.
First reading.
First reading.
This is the first?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then.
I'm
we
okay
can do
with
that.
what,
We can do that, yes, sir.
what their intentions are.
Okay.
And Dan, did you say the average is 800? So
Right, so they could have
there
some
could be
smaller
smaller-
one-bedrooms, but then they would go up.
Smaller to
Like what we're talking about, but we don't have a firm number, we have an average.
Yeah.
What's
To
the
hit an
minimum?
average, you're going to have to have a number that are quite a bit higher than the 800.
Do you have a
We can
number?
come back with some specific numbers if you like.
Yeah, I
Are
think
these
that's-
market rent apartments or is this subsidized?
I do not know, I don't get into whether it's
This
market
one's
rate or
market.
subsidized.
This
Market, as
one's
far as I
market.
know.
Okay, I mean, if they're market, that makes me feel better. I mean, he's gonna have to build and deliver what the market will rent, you know?
We can come back with some specific numbers on bedroom sizes, and if you like, that's fine.
Okay, any other?
Dan thought they were minimum 800. Are you clear now? He said they average 800.
Yeah, and I'd feel just a little bit, my guess is that I'm going to be okay with the product they're designing, because like you said, it's market rent, it's probably good, but I just would like to see it and maybe incorporate it into the PUD.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay. Dan, Al, while you're there, Al, is there any way we can show this so the public can see the ones that are here? Because usually we could show like the location and the designs. Is that not able to do that?
It's in the packet. If you can just scroll down on that, it's page,
And I'm just saying, if I'm in the public and, trying to get location where we're located at.
Do you have a page number?
It may be, I'm just doing it for the future, Dan. You don't have to do
Right,
it now,
yes, sir.
just for the future.
Okay.
no, hey, pages, 10 of 20 on here.
200 and
200.
220, I'm at 221 actually shows, 22 shows how it looks. Shows nice elevations. 223 shows some examples of what they've built, I guess, in other communities.
This particular one is showing the 3-story model, but they wanted to have the flexibility to go to 4 just in case. If we do go to 4, if they do go to 4, then that allows some additional green space.
Okay.
It is 31 acres and 248 units, so they have a pretty good expansive green space as it is, and a large portion of it is wetlands, which has to be protected to begin with, so.
Thank you.
One question about, is there a phase 2 with this also? I noticed on one of the
The first phase, I
diagrams.
believe, was going to be 88 units, and then the
So 88,
and the
the
remainder
first
up
phase,
to
88 units.
248, yes, sir.
Okay, any more questions from the commission? Thank you, sir. Okay, item C is non-routine items of initial review of proposed 5 single-member commission districts. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, resolution, and hey, Dan, too, if you would help Ian set up the PowerPoint. There we go. And then drop down to the slideshow box. There you go. And click to the first slide, please. So, actually, we'll start with, in 1984, the city went into its current 3 single-member district, 2 at-large seats. The map in the room there on the board pretty much depicts how those seats are carved. So we got one far out to the east, one that goes pretty much through the middle of the town, and then District 3, which encompasses South Leesburg. If you flip the slide. Next slide, yep. Again, those districts in that top box, I don't know if the folks in the room can read those numbers, but what we try to do with each of the districts when they create is we want them compact, we want them contiguous. We'll get into that in a little bit more in detail, but we also want them to represent the community as best you can. So those boxes represent the box on the top represents what those districts look like in 1984 when those districts were created. And we had about 13,000 people then, and each district was about 4,100 people. And then today you've got a system where I would propose to the commission that those districts are starting to get a little skewed, and that's just from the impact of time, annexation, and more people working in and out, and that kind of stuff. So if you go to the next slide. So in November 2020, due to our growth that we're also expecting now to see from villages in different parts of the community, the commission passed an ordinance 2025, which said, do we want to consider going to 5 single-member districts? That passed by 68%. Next slide. So in preparing to help you draw new districts pursuant to the referendum, we put together some concepts that we wanted to run past you. First is a key principle in drawing districts is 1 person, 1 vote. So we don't want to dilute populations. We don't want to spread them out. We want to be as representative as we can. Drawing districts is obviously controversial and contentious, and there's lots of case law that's behind how you do them. The 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment, the Voting Rights Act of 65, and then a slew of other cases. And then, of course, we already mentioned the case in 83, 84, that's us. So at the end of the day, we want to draw districts that are reflective of the community in general, and they need to get adjusted regularly. Next slide. Just some of the common principles that come up with this is you want your districts equal in population. We want to follow census blocks as much as we can. You want to keep significant boundaries, lakes, rivers, streams, major roads. We want to be as contiguous as possible. We should be compact as possible. We want to have districts that reflect that individual community interest. So, as your community changes, there's different interests in there. So it's okay to cluster your districts with that in mind. You don't want to dilute minority voting strength. You do want to protect incumbency. And when we're drawing lines, we don't want to get all crazy and have these bizarre looking districts. Next slide. Now, having said that, we know that nothing can be perfect. Achieving all those goals is extremely difficult. So there's some rules of thumb. First, good districts have a population variance of plus or minus 3%. So in our case, it would be 24,942 divided by 5 plus or minus 3%. You also you're going to have extreme districts, one on one side, one on the other. You don't want that population deviation to add up to more than 10. It doesn't want to be greater than 10%. So if you got a district at +4 and -4 of the standard deviation of the district, that would be a separation of 8. So that's good. If it starts getting bigger than that, you start having unbalanced districts. In doing this, there are some variances, and again, it's always tough to get it perfect, so there are some exceptions, and if you deviate from being within those guidelines, there's some reasons for deviation. And that's one, to create minority influence or a minority majority, or if you have areas where you do think that there is going to be substantial growth, you can underpopulate a district, but again, these things, need to be within standards. Also, we don't want to pack or crack districts. So if you have a cluster of minorities, you just don't want to put the box around them and then dilute that voting strength. But also, if minorities are spread out, you don't want to draw big, long, crazy districts either. So you don't want to take portions of that out or stick them together. So with those general rules of thumb, the first thing we did was we went to GIS. GIS guys, I gotta give a shout out to Mike Andrews and Patrick Murray. They're Johnny on the spot, and I learned new things about GIS that I never knew, but very helpful. So the first step we did was we took the city limits map and we put the census tracts on it. So the map that's up there is the entire city. Different colors represent how that, since the United States Census Tract fits in the city, and then the number in it is the population for that census tract. Next slide. Step 2. For each of those districts, or census tracts, there's 29 of them. We did the population, and we broke it down according to demographics: African American, white, Native American, Asian. And we came up with a percentage in each of the census tract and the city as a whole. Those are the ones on the bottom there. So 24,942 people, 65% white, 25.54% African American, Native American 0.29%, Asian 1.62%, Pacific Islander 0.16%, other 4.34%, and Hispanic 11.14%. So that's kind of the shade of Leesburg, right? That's what Leesburg looks like. And if we had 5 perfect districts, each one would be 4,888 people with that exact same percentage. So step 3. We used those steps and created these proposed 5 districts. So essentially what we got is district number 1, Northwest Leesburg, in the blue. District number 2, which actually is a new district, which would be, call it West Central Leesburg. District number 3, South Leesburg. But you'll note on South Leesburg does come up and it grabs kind of that Loves Point area, that green. The reason for that is if you go back to the census tracts, there's 3 census tracts that lay right in that area: Loves Point, Stock Subdivision, and Coachwood, if you would, kind of Citadel Hope, the bend around Dixie. Of those three districts are zoning or census tract areas, Love's Point was the smallest. So that one balanced out the numbers the best. So that's why we grab it. District number 4 is essentially central Leesburg, from Beverly Shores straight south to Palmore Park. And then District 5 is East Leesburg. Next slide. I will save you all and be quick in here, but these are the demographic analysis of those districts. So I'll be really super quick. District number 1 is 4,800 folks. This would be classified as a minority, African American, 1,000 people. And it really is pretty close to the composition that is Leesburg, 67% white, 22% African American, 0.36% Native American, and on the Hispanic, it's about 14%. So those numbers are pretty closely aligned. District 3 is opposite District 1 for the same reasons. District 3 is more majority minority, and District 3 is primarily white retirees. So that district kind of doesn't balance the demographics, but both in District 1 you have community of interest and a majority minority district. In District number 3 you have a community of interest of 5,000 people. District number 4 gets back to, again, a little bit like District number 2, 4,800 people, very well balanced in its demographics. And then District number 5, 5,200 people, not quite as balanced as 2 and 4, but better than 1 and 3. So that would be our proposal. If you go to the next slide, we talk about the positive things of the districts as we've drawn it. Reasonable apportionment deviation, we range from -4 to +4. Our average appropriated deviation is actually spot right on the number, 4,988. The largest deviation of percentage points we have is 8. Less than recommended population deviations, 1 and 3. So, those weren't the balanced ones, but we already talked. The reasons we have that is growth areas, districts of common interest, and one district is a majority district. Good population deviation in districts 2, 4, and 5. We created a minority district where the incumbent is termed out. So, Mary, that's your district. In that case, that would be set up that District 1 would continue to be a minority district. We protect incumbency a little bit. In that way, Commissioner Connell is District 3, and that's where he resides. District 5 is Commissioner Burry, and a new district, District 4, would be Commissioner Peterson. Even though Commissioner Peterson is an at-large, he would be able to run for re-election in his home district. And District 2 is essentially a new district. So I want to come back to that point in a second. Next slide. So kind of in summary, if you like these districts, here would be the steps moving forward. It would be a single ordinance that the city attorney would draw up. The ordinance would also then recommend that in the election of 22, the cycle would be District 1, 2, and 4. Those would be the seats you run. So that would be core Leesburg. So Commissioner Burry and Commissioner Connell, you guys just got elected to this term to basically that district, but now it's smaller, but you would still have representation for the city in those 2 areas. And then the new commissioners coming on for termed out Mayor Christian and Commissioner Roebuck, their seats are up for election in Core Leesburg, and Commissioner Peterson, should you choose to run for re-election, you would run in 4. So in 22, all of Leesburg would be represented in that cycle. Then in cycle 23, then when you that new commission in 22 election, and then you do your organizational meeting, you would appoint who is in what seat. So when the 24 election comes up, cycles, commission seats 3 and 5 would be up for re-election. So there's a nice flow, and there's continued representation for everybody. Having said that, if you would skip now to 2, I kind of gave recognized some folks there. Dan worked on this, and Ken worked on it too. And most of the data came from the census, and as well as Florida League of Cities. We got a lot of the core examples of structuring districts. I did want to bring up, and I dubbed it the Connell Compromise. Commissioner Connell talked to me quite a bit Friday and this morning. And part of the problem with the districting map, and I'll agree with it, is how do you deal with the village's growth? So if you go, don't change the map, but if you go back to the census tract, I'm going to refer to this census tract as 6. This 6 on this map, which is in your packet, represents the village's property. There's 6 people that live there right now. So in 2022 or 2024, that 6 is probably going to be like 3,000. Now here's our issue. We really can't assume and make a district of 6 people for the next 2 to 4 years. And that goes into the philosophy of why we programmed it with the current 24,942, which is the 2019 census number. So what do you do with 6? So the original proposal had 6 lumped into District 3. This is another angle for your consideration, which puts 6, the village's property, into District 2. Immediately what that does, and Commissioner Connell's kind of concept there was, it's a new district. No, the district number 2 was cut out, and that's different than we've done before. We don't know what's going to be in the village's area immediately. So let's put it all in number 2. So not only does it kind of keep new and new, but it also does preserve 3 and 5 to protect incumbency like we did 4. So you're kind of kicking the can down the road to the new person. So the new person, whoever runs in District 2, they're going to have to deal with the village's issue. I will say I think you got to put it in District 2 or District 3. But I think if we're going to have a good compromise here, that's one. Moving that census block into 2 basically does absolutely nothing to the demographics that I just talked to you about, because you're moving 6 people. Okay, now in 22 or 24, if that builds out the way we think it's gonna build out, we're gonna need to be back here redistricting, because as soon as that fills up, District 2 or District 3, wherever you put it, is unbalanced. So I think Commissioner Connell's compromise there is a good one. That's my report. From here, take whatever feedback you have, and we'll go from there. Do recommend that because the referendum is passed, that we move on this. It was passed in November. We didn't move on this in my office until the new commission came on board for obvious reasons. But now that you guys are here, our recommendation is to settle on the districts, get them out, get them approved by ordinance, and then get them advertised so that those who will be running in 22 know what the new look will look like.
Any comments, questions?
I really like the Canal compromise here. I think that makes a lot of sense, because otherwise you're going to have a major shift in 2024, and I think this makes that less disruptive in 2024, because district and census tract 6 is going to have to go with 2 because of all the growth that's occurring both on 48 and South 27 and 3. So 3 is going to keep getting bigger. So putting the villages in 3 long term isn't going to work. It's going to have to split to 2. So I think doing it now, otherwise you're going to have the weird situation in 2024 before you make the change where you have 3 as this just massive district with, which I think is probably what you were getting at. I think that makes a lot of sense. So I like that.
Terra Oaks.
Tierra Oaks is, you could probably,
Yeah, and my concern is,
this is Tierra Oaks.
and my concern is right now, I think it's 58 people in the census tract. Of course, with District 1 being a minority majority by a very, very slim margin of 54%. You know, if 600 or 800 people move into Terra Oaks, with 50 of them being African American, that district is no longer a minority majority. So that would be similar to what Commissioner Connell is talking about, and District 1 is mandated by a federal lawsuit. So my concern is once construction starts and that 54% turns to less than 50%, who's monitoring that? And I may not be on this side of the table, I'll be on that side of the table, but I would like to make sure that that's being monitored, because it's only 4%, and the mandate said it has to be a majority African American district. So if 600 houses get built in Terra Oaks, that changes that majority, which puts us out of federal compliance. And I think if you look at the maps now in the District 2 as now, you see the numbers are skewed, and that was simply because trying to keep that 50% majority. So that would be my only concern, because that is probably the biggest growth area that's going to probably take place within the next year. And I don't know how we're going to monitor that before we get to 2022 or 2024, because that's going to change our demographics. So that would be my only concern. I know you work hard, your staff works hard.
No, and this is why I wanted to bring this to you in this format where we can kick this around. Just a couple of thoughts on that too. Number one, District 1 was majority minority, and there's obviously a large percentage of minority folks who live in that district. Also kind of wondered where Tierra Oaks should go, and being that it was in the Carver Heights CRA and under the TIF, thought that it should be in that district as well. I understand your point there about if it develops and it's not minority, then that minority district goes away, or we've got an issue there. But I also thought just as an argument's sake, that district goes into that TIF. That TIF helps that money. That commissioner has a say-so in how that issue goes. Number two, though, is more of a growth dynamic, because if the stuff on the books happens, you're gonna be back redrawn districts real soon, probably 24. So that's why I hear your point. Actually, won that Unit 58, which is that little blue block in District 1, but then even more so, villages, and it's not just our 470 property either, apartments and that kind of stuff now. So that number could be really big. You got a number of developments off of 27, and then don't forget about Orange Bend up off 44, which is another huge one. So the map is almost shaping up that you're going to have 3 districts between South 27 Leesburg and East Leesburg, and then you're going to end up coming back to core Leesburg, which I would call 1, 4, and 2, less the villages, and you're going to end up redrawn, probably going east to west, or doing different blocks to be able to get that minority district. And if the pattern is the way it's going to be, core Leesburg, where you have 3 seats, is going to end up being 2 by 24, 28, and you're going to be back drawing districts real quick.
And I agree, but I would be remiss if I didn't stand for the reason of the 1983 lawsuit between the NAACP and the city of Leesburg, because it was stated it was impossible to elect, and not just the minority, as an African American, I think it called it black in '83, to the city council. And so that's why District 2 was drawn, to ensure that a black had a fighting chance to become a city commissioner. So last thing on, between 2021 and 2022, Terra Oaks starts to develop and they get 100 homes times 2 is 200 people, that will turn the majority into equal playing field, and then a minority is not, an African American is not elected or have a chance to be elected to city council. So that's my general concern, and I know it's very difficult. We had this exercise, Fred, a few years ago. We started talking about how do we draw these lines to ensure. If you look at the map, I think District 2 goes all the way through the core of Leesburg, just trying to capture African Americans, because of course people move, demographics change, so it was very difficult. But I want to ensure that because 2024 may be too late for my seat, because it's 2022. We've had an election. The city has grown by 600 people, and it skews the number. So that would be my biggest concern, because we're only working with a 4% majority at this time, and I would hate to see us being challenged because we didn't do our due diligence. So that's my only concern on District 1. Any other?
Al, what's the Park Holland breakdown? Which would be District 4, the north end of it, that kind of abuts District 1.
Right. And
In addressing
I'll give
John's
you,
concern.
your answer is the variance there is about 1,000 people. It's about 1,000 more African Americans in District 1 than white, for a 34 percentage. In District 4, it is a pretty even as far as the citywide demographics go. Citywide demographics are 65-25 white African American, and that district is 68-23. So and here's some of the struggles, because we did look at shots, and there's two African American communities in District 4 that were District 1, along Pine Street and then up to the north side of the boulevard, that we drew in there. On the census tax that we have in there now, to do that east-west, we got into trouble because you'd have to get you end up losing block 58. Somewhere along in Carver Heights, one of those seats is going to go back down, and then your overall demographics don't look as good based on the current, because you got to stretch from District 1183 and then get it into 928 and 807 and sneak it around there. You could sneak it, then we start to gerrymander, and then we get out of the blocks. But I think in 22, your districts are going to look pretty close to these demographics. I don't think you're gonna have,
Terra Oaks can't be built by 2022 because they haven't even moved dirt.
You won't have that demographic issue there. By the time District 1's new term would expire in 26, you might have that issue. So like I say, it's 24, 26, you're going to need to be back here drawing seats. And not only are you going to have the issue from the Tierra Oaks impact, you're going to have it from the Villages impact to the south. So everybody's going to be in here beating each other up. And where I think your point is very well taken, Mayor, is in the court case that I read it. I read it. It says you can't regress. Right. Okay, so meaning, before 84 happened, we had regressive districts. And the demographic numbers are horrible, and minorities didn't have, their voice was counted out. So we created that. So the district didn't say you have to have a minority district. It said you can't regress, and they need to be, basically all those bullet points that I gave you on how to create a district, that's what was in the lawsuit. And if you follow that, you're going to end up with the minority majority. So that's okay. And so what I liked about this map is, even though Tierra Oaks is sitting there, this was the best shot that we had to align all the districts pretty equally, knowing in 4 to 6 years we're going to be redrawing them again. And the case says you can't regress. So if this is a regression because Tierra Oaks happens, you are bound by that case to come back and draw your districts. So I think that addresses your concern. I hope it does.
Make sure we're on the record, yeah. Any other comments, concerns?
I think you did a good job on it, Al. I mean, it's a tough assignment.
If everybody is happy with the compromise plan, what I'll do next is I'll get back with the city attorney and we'll start drawing up the ordinances.
Aren't there a couple of census tracts that aren't shown on this map on the other side from the villages that annexed
Outside the city
in?
limits?
Well, they're non-contiguous annexations that came in after the initial villages.
I don't think so. Let me
Okay.
go look.
So your data,
If so, there'd be nobody in them at the moment, but
Correct.
Was
Yeah,
you-
yeah. That would be, if I'm,
it's isn't on the map.
it's this little section right here. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, I thought maybe.
That's not the compromise map.
Yeah, I know.
Al, but your current numbers are based on 2019 numbers?
2019,
Okay, and where'd you pull that from?
Census Bureau.
Okay, okay.
Any comments from the public? There's a lot of information, but it's a very difficult process to equal out. I'm surprised Al even got him equal as close as he did.
I was too.
Well, I respect John's comments. I understand the lawsuit at a high level. I mean, we're just going to need to monitor the numbers annually at the end of every year. Following John's numbers, I didn't dig into them that close, but we're up 1,000 people, and I'm quoting John's example. Tierra Oaks goes up 200. We're still okay, right?
Well, that was just the beginning. I think they stated for 700 houses. And so if you do a man and a female, that's like
Okay.
1,400 people. So
Yeah.
then that's what I think has to be monitored. I think when we saw,
I agree we need to monitor it. We need to monitor
Yeah.
it annually.
I think when staff came in with an annexation, that's why they always kind of threw it in District 3, because nothing was being built. But I think now things are getting built. I think now you're going to have to adjust, or whoever runs in the District 3 or 2, they're going to spend it probably 3 or 4 times as someone who's running in District 4 just to send out mailers. And Mr. Cornell probably experienced some of that when he was running for a campaign. That's probably one of his concerns is that it becomes very expensive when you got 8,000, 9,000 people as opposed to someone who has 2,000 people they can reach. So, but I think just so we don't do this every year, I think that's why the staff tries to annex into certain districts. Am I right, Al?
Yeah, we try, do geographically.
Anything on the map, the district? Yes, sir.
The question was, is the draft map posted anywhere? The answer, it is not. What we will do is, now that I wanted it to be the commission to see it and kick it around before we blasted it all over the place, because wasn't sure what the reception was going to be. If you guys hated it, then that would have been a map I wouldn't have wanted to post publicly. But at this stage, what we'll do is we'll do the ordinance. When we do the ordinance, it will be, we advertise the ordinance, so the map will be attached to the ordinance. And as well, if you want a copy of the map, you can get it from my office.
All right. City attorney items. City manager items.
Because I have been busy coloring, I have to admit, I was remiss. The commission, and we talked about the pool notch, if you will. What to buy or not buy that notch. We didn't come up with a decision, but you did task me with, see if you can get an offer. So we did. Fred had drafted a contract for that parcel. He put it back on my desk. I forgot to put it in the packet. So long story short, the owners of that parcel agreed to sell it for 50 grand. So if you are okay with that, Fred was okay with you giving me the authority to execute the contract. The contract's Fred's standard, nothing, it's the standard Florida contract. If you read it, you fall asleep. And as far as money, my recommendation would be, there's about 350 grand that we don't have allocated that comes from interest earnings on the capital project fund monies. So that's where I would recommend to spend that. Having said that, if you do buy that notch, Fred's got tentatively April 6th as potentially when we would be able to take the Magnolia lots and then a discussion on what those fair market price values are for that. So, you know, maybe by early summer, you've got everything wrapped up. So I'm just looking for direction. Do you want me to purchase the lot?
If Fred has drafted the contract and the parties are in agreement and it's satisfactory to Fred, I would make a motion we buy it for $50,000.
Go a second. Do we have a second? Well, I'd like to pass the gavel to Commissioner Peterson, and I'll second that.
I'll second it so you can, you don't have to do that.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All right, now discussion.
I've said it in every meeting, we're overpaying for it. It's ridiculous. We could go through condemnation and make it a lose-lose situation. Yeah, it's probably worth half what we're paying for it, but it's the right long-term move for the city. When you're spending what we're spending on a pool, it's just not right to have this the notch, as Al calls it, and it just needs to be corrected. When you look at the redevelopment of Pine Street, and I don't take that comment lightly. I said it's probably worth 2025, and we're paying 50, but I'm not against condemnation on it, going down that path, but the seller will lose and we will lose, so we'll spend more than 50. Seller will probably get about 20. So everybody knows, the new commissioners don't know how vocal I've been on the pool and just doing it right, and we've come this far. I've been vocal about the properties to the north. We're doing condemnation on those. And I'd just like to wrap this up and square off this property and do this beautiful pool correctly. But I do want to say that I do not like overpaying like this.
Any other comments?
Well, why don't we take the rest of the corner and sell it to him for $50,000? Think he'd pay for it?
I don't think I have much of that corner left.
Not much. Nothing we can do with it.
That's the thing. I think if we just wait, he's going to have to sell because it's not a usable lot. There's no parking. It's going to be surrounded by a pool. I just don't see what use the property has. At some point, he's going to get tired of maintaining it.
And if we widen Pine Street at some point, which I think is being discussed, that's going to solve the problem too.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Well, I think unfortunately, I don't know how frequent everybody visits Pine Street, but it's really not being maintained. It's not being cut. Probably been cut at all during the winter months. It looks bad. I mean, it looks bad. I think we put the fence around the property that we were actually doing work on, and somehow I guess someone called and said you can't put your fence around somebody's property, so we end up removing the fence around it so you can ride by and take a look. And I don't think he's hurting for money, so he may, depends on, I don't know, say, well, I'll just hold this for 10 years. You guys look at it for 10 years. And if you widen Pine Street and you do condemnation, I think you're going to probably spend more than $50,000 on legal fees and whatever you have to pay him. So I just think it's good for public relations for the city as opposed to going through taking people's property. I think the Magnolia property is a little different because the owner had the property tied up with other properties and he needs the eminent domain so he could actually take this out of the other properties he has connected. That's kind of what he told me. So I think it's a little different than the Magnolia Street property. To me, I think we were having the same discussion about a piece of property behind the Chicago brewery for $60,000. Probably wasn't worth $60,000. We were ready to buy it. I just think it just makes good sense for the city to eliminate this eyesore because it is an eyesore. It will be an eyesore after July 2021. It's going to be a worse eyesore, and I just hate for us to look around and say, why don't we buy it? So I guess you guys know my opinion. I think we should buy it and just be done with it. Commissioner Cornell, you got any comments on that? All right. Anybody from the public? All right, roll call. I'm sorry.
For what it's worth on this one, I will stick my 2 cents in and give you an affirmative recommendation. I agree with everything Commissioner Peterson said on this one. The city needs to buy the lot. I didn't recommend that we do that going down the project because I thought we'd be able to be nice neighbors. But I have a sneaking suspicion that just how the construction process has gone with them, the fence being there, them not maintaining that lot to the level that we want it maintained. You know, I always envisioned, heck, I'll just go in there and I'll mow the grass, and they'll never complain. I don't think that's going to be the case, and why I say that is during the construction process, they've already complained about our fence. So we're here we go. We're going to get into our grass is cut, our pool looks nice, their grass isn't cut. I'm going to say, hey, Cliff, go cut that grass, and we're going to get a trespass, you know, or then we're going to end up in the code enforcement process where it's going to grow, and I notice it, and then I got to wait a month, and buy the lot and be done with it.
Why aren't we enforcing our property? Why aren't we enforcing our property maintenance code if that's the issue?
Because you're going to be, it's going to be a cat and mouse game. You're going to cut it, you're not going to cut it, and then you're going to, it's just buy the lot.
Any other comments? Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Bury,
No.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Connell,
No.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Mayor Christian.
Yes. All right, city manager, anything? No?
The only other thing, sent out a bunch of emails to you. The one I just to pay attention to is an update from the partnership. So they had 3 or 4 or 5 items on there that they were working with. They're working with the summer games and the ball games. Joni's in the back there.
Can we ask her to come up,
couple
Al,
of-
so she can introduce us as the new manager of the partnership?
I didn't mean to put you, I didn't think I was gonna put her on the spot,
I told her I was
but-
gonna get her up here. Come on, Joni, introduce yourself, tell us your ideas.
You can blame this on Lena. She sent me that email that said, make sure you update the commission.
She's excited, Al.
So I sent it to Lena, and Lena sent it to you.
Yeah.
We have a new business on Main Street, Mystic Ice Cream. Frank's opened back up this month, which is good. We started a campaign for all the vacancies downtown. It'll come out in the Style magazine this month. We have business owners, we're gonna work with different ones down on Main Street, that just telling them about it's their dream to open a business, and why don't you open your own, basically. We're working with the softball with Travis and Allison, and also the county with fishing tournaments to promote our downtown more. And we just got our accreditation from Florida and National Main Street. And we're working on our events. Mardi Gras is Saturday.
Fish fry.
Thank you, Mayor Christian.
You're so welcome.
That's all I have.
I told her I was gonna bring up Al, so I had to. All right, Andy, roll call.
Commissioner Bury,
Compliment to the city on the public works. Looks very nice. It was kind of junky there for a while, but they've cleaned it up and it looks good.
Commissioner Peterson,
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Connell,
Nothing.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Nothing tonight.
Mayor Christian.
I'm just excited about seeing the positive things happening in Leesburg. I'm really excited that Joni's taking over the helm of the partnership. I think she's going to bring a breath of fresh air to our city and downtown. As you see, she's focused on downtown and see the growth that's happening in our city. And Leesburg is changing for the better. And owe a lot of that to Al and his staff for keen work. And I'm glad we were able to buy that little lot on Pine Street. I think it's going to look much better. That's all I have for tonight. Motion to adjourn? Thanks for kicking him under the table, Al.
What?
Thanks for kicking him under